Welcome to another Soccer Down Here 1v1. And as it turns out, it's an odd man rush. It's a 2v1 this time around, where we catch up with Corinthians FC of San Antonio, new members of the NPSL. Hanging out with us this time is President Arturo Ferrer and Director of Ops GM Joe Shafer. Gentlemen, thanks for coming on for a 2v1.
Thank you, John. We appreciate the time.
Yeah, thank you, John.
All right, so I have a number in my head between 1 and 10, and this is how we determine the order of answering questions, unless you guys want to exert privilege over one another and just elbow your way in for an answer. I have a number between 1 and 10, and since Arturo is club president, you go first. What number is in my head?
9.
Okay, Joe?
I'm going to go with 4.
Okay, so let's see. Are we playing Price is Right rules or no? Closest without going over, and if you go over, then you're in trouble, or closest to the number? What's the rule here?
Closest to the number.
We'll
try and keep it simple.
Yes.
All right, so then it goes to Arturo because the number was 7.
All right.
So Arturo will answer questions first, and then Joe come in from behind, unless Joe, you just want to answer in as well. So first and foremost, Arturo, how did you guys come up with the idea of wanting to start Corinthians there in San Antonio and have it be a part of the NPSL?
Well, the reality is back in 2004, we decided to open the academy, pretty much the club. And wasn't Corinthians, was a different name. But a gentleman back then, approached to us, and he was already on the NPSL, which the name was Corinthians. And for us as an academy, we understood, coming from Mexico, we understand pretty much what it takes for you to develop players, because that's our main thing. And also what it takes to run a club, which is reaching out the community and try to make people involved. But going back to your question is, he approached to us, and for me was like the cherry on the cake, NPSL. That was the best league for our players with between 16 to 20 years old, getting ready for college or already in college, right? That they can come and join this league. So that's the reason why we decided to jump on it. And well, this is where we are.
So then, Joe, what's the response been like since you guys have come online within the last 5 days since we're taping this 5 days after the announcement? What's the initial response been like? So
immediate feedback. When are your next open trials? What's the calendar look like for you guys? And it's been a barrage of emails and texts, but it's pleasant. It's good to stay busy.
So then, Arturo, let me ask you this, and both of you can answer this one because your lists might be a little different. I know that, and we all know here, that the season starts in May. But honestly, the rush turned 5 days ago and is going to go at about 9,000 miles an hour. I know that we all have our to-do lists, and they're in various places. I mean, it could be here on a cell phone. You pull out your stylus, you write it down, you put the stylus back in, you put your phone away. Could be on one of those little mini boards that we have on our fridge that's got the dry erase marker that you can sit there and cross off. Or it could be one of those big 4-foot by 6-foot things in the office that's got about 9,000 different topics on it. Let me ask you first, Arturo, let me ask you this. Where is your to-do list, and what do you think the next thing that you can cross off it is?
Well, to be honest, I always use a notebook. It's not on a board. It's a notebook that I carry on anywhere I go. Because as you know, something pops up and you need to make a note right away. So I carry on with me. And the next thing that is on my notebook is this. It's pretty much have this interview, and then after this is getting ready for some tryouts and also looking for the right coach for our team to be ready on May. If we're talking about club-wise, okay, for getting ready to NPSL, that will be my next. That's my next thing that we already working on.
All right. So then, Joe, what's on your to-do list? Where is it, and what do you think you can cross off next?
I'm a combination guy, so I'll keep a notebook and I'll use a lot on my phone as well, even though I'm pretty horrible with technology.
You and me both.
But it's nice to have a quick reference every now and again. So the phone does come into play. I think for us, just making sure that we have everything established to put on a good presentation every weekend and make sure that the league has a good show. We're providing good competition. Everything runs smoothly. And, and a part of that is obviously the day-to-day operations with tryouts and making sure that we have the right fit in terms of staffing, things of that nature. But again, our partnerships, we have to make sure that those are nurtured and that we have everything in working order.
So then, Arturo, let me ask you this. For those that aren't familiar with the soccer culture there in San Antonio, how big of a presence is it? For those that don't know, break down the soccer culture and the influence that the sport has there in San Antonio.
Well, being a city that is close to being a city, San Antonio, that is close to I would say to Mexico. Of course, you have a lot of influence from Hispanic people, right? So, but I don't know if you can help me with that too.
Well, I think the San Antonio communities, the soccer community here is pretty big. I think they're looking for more outlets to kind of enjoy the sport, looking to grow it more. It's one of the fastest growing, if not the fastest growing sport here in the United States. I think to touch base, I think the youth community especially is growing so rapidly, and we want to give them a platform to enjoy and know that there's a pathway. Maybe not traditional, maybe it is traditional, but there's more than one pathway here in the local community to get your name out there. We want to inspire young players, but the soccer culture itself, it's got a huge following. I mean, influence, like Arturo was saying, from Mexico, clubs like America, Tigres, Rayados, Santos, so just to name a few of the big clubs there in Mexico. They have a very big following here in San Antonio, and you can tell whenever there's an international friendly or a professional game that's been put on, the numbers don't lie, and the soccer community comes out to support those teams. And we're in our position, we're hoping to kind of to bridge the gap and get everybody involved with what we do over here. So in terms of soccer community, it's exciting to be a part of it. I think it's pretty well rounded here in San Antonio, but yeah, it continues to grow.
So then let me ask you both this, and I know that Joe, you have a bit of a vested interest and some inside knowledge, being the native to the San Antonio area. Arturo, let me ask you this first. What has it been like to see the game grow there in the San Antonio area? I'll just go back 5 years. If you can go back a decade if you want, but what has it been like to see the game grow and expand and evolve there in that particular part of Texas over the last 5 to 10 years or so?
You asking me how it feels?
Yeah. What's it been like to see this game grow? And has it surprised you?
I will tell you this. That's one of the main reasons, why I decided to jump on this. Starting with, I'm coming from a culture that we love soccer, right? But I remember back in the day, like you're saying, 5 years ago was completely different. And some of the few real options as a league, for example, was NPSL, well structured and all that. And I realized that. But going back to your question, is like, it's impressed. I'm impressed. I mean, I'm impressed, but I'm excited because you can see, like Joe was saying, now people start to get more involved. Now people start to show up to the games, starting with college also, and the little ones. Now, I was just before yesterday on in this indoor soccer, right, with the little ones. And I was impressed how now they start to understand the game. It's not just going, and the parents, the parents was like, and I'm talking about, like you were saying, from a different cultures, but the parents were like getting into the game, and that excites me because that tells you that you are in the right path. I mean, we were on time, so I'm super happy because this is gonna grow. This is growing. So be part of it and be one of the few that we've been out there for almost already 7-8 years. Obviously, you one of the few that believe in the sport and believe in the growth. So I'm happy.
And I mean, Joe, you're the native. You went to Del Rio. You played it. You played it Incarnate Word, who has it now both as football and American football there on campus. But you were there with the original football. So Del Rio, Incarnate Word, and you're the native. What's it been like for you to see the growth there in the area?
I think at the youth level, it's a different world. The amount of influence the European clubs have, I think now, not just in a sense of presence here in the United States, but in terms of influence, in terms of curriculum, methodology. The game's just played differently, I think, from when it was when I was growing up. And then obviously fast forward into college and into the high school levels, just the amount of exposure that young players are getting. Platforms like the NPSL, giving them another way to showcase their talents. I think back when I was a player, I think the PDL was basically the only league that was out there. And then, fast forward now, you've got, USL2, you've got NPSL, you've got all sorts of, just higher level platforms that are looking to put players on showcase. I mean, I'm a little jealous, to be very honest with you. To have all this at your fingertips, as a young player today. And then the college level, from looking back, like you said, when I was spending time at Incarnate Word, there was like a dirt track and, a grass field that we were training and playing on. And then, fast forward to now, the amount of improvements, the amount that has been invested into not just the soccer program, but athletics in general. Not just in Incarnate Word, but in every university here in San Antonio. I think San Antonio is doing a really good job of helping grow the sport, especially at the collegiate level. We have several schools here in town that are battling for top 10 rankings every year, or that are battling for conference titles every year. So it's exciting. Like I said, a little jealous because looking back, we go, wow, how did we pull that off, or how did we do that? How did we manage it? You know what I mean? There wasn't a cell phone or something like that that you could video almost every moment that goes by in a game. But it's nice to see where it's come. Definitely.
Club President Arturo Ferrer, Director of Ops and GM Joe Shafer of Corinthians FC of San Antonio, the new entry in the NPSL, hanging out with us for another couple of minutes for a Soccer Down Here 2v1. Arturo, let me ask you this. When it comes to on the field expectations for year one, as club president, in your mind, what are they and what should they be?
Well, to be honest, we know the level of the NPSL. Like I said, I know the league pretty well. So we as a club, as an institution, obviously everybody likes to win, right? And we're looking for winning, but more important for us is also to develop, like I say. So but I'm pretty sure, I'm confident that the work that we've been doing for almost 4 to 5 years will give us at least, and I'm praying, right, that will take us to the playoffs. I will say that. I'm sorry if I'm putting Joe in.
No pressure, right?
But the reality is, I'm confident. I'm confident. The little kids that are there right now, 17 to 19 years old, I'm confident that we're gonna be able to make it to the playoffs. And you never know. But at least I will say we're gonna give good soccer. We have some style. We like to keep the ball on the ground and make it simple. That's our mentality. So I think, like I said, my expectation will be the playoffs. But even though if that doesn't happen, The longest, every single one runs, every single one fights, because the league deserve also that, at that level, they're just to say, oh, everything's okay. No, it's time, you need to give your best. That's why we decided to join NPSL, because like I say, it's a league that is well structured. And so anybody that goes to watch a game, their expectation is to see soccer, and good soccer, not just, Sunday league, right? So like I say, hopefully we can make it to the playoffs.
And, Joe, you mentioned that playoffs, and the Lone Star, you have your defending champs in Denton. You've got Temple, Brownsville, Fort Worth, Irving, Katy, Laredo, and Midland, Odessa.
Almost not.
Well, but I mean, and that's some very tough competition. You're inserting yourselves geographically in one of the tougher conferences out there, but at the same time, right, you instantly get those rivalries that I think are key, especially in growing leagues, growing conferences, and first-year clubs, where you guys are instantly dropping yourselves in to a conference where you have 8 rivals, where it's going to be easy in most cases to have driving distance to go and catch up with, and go see the supporters groups, they can make their trips to go see these games. I think that's big coming out of the blocks, where you get instant rivalries, and the geography helps you out, even though the conference is tough.
Correct.
Yes, sir. That's true.
Correct. I think, for the most part, we have good relationships with every club, or prior relationships before entering into the NPSL. We know Brownsville, we know Laredo Heat, we know Coyotes up in Temple, the guys from Katy, 1895. Those guys, we've had a long-standing, competition with, on one sense or another. So yeah, we're excited. We want to compete, and that's just the bottom line. So those rivalries, they help make games, and puts players in a position where they have something to play for. Every game's a high expectation. So that fits our structure. I think it all costs. One of the minimum requirements that we have within our academy is that we have to enjoy competition. So we feel it's healthy. Whether we're on the good side or the bad side of it, it doesn't really matter, but how we compete. And as long as we do compete, we can rest easy on that.
Heading into 2022, matches will be played at Cornerstone Christian School's Warrior Stadium there in San Antonio. On Facebook at SA Corinthians FC, same on Instagram, same on Twitter. Guys, President Arturo Ferrer, Corinthians, and Director of Ops GM Joe Shafer, thanks for pulling back the curtain on the bid and on one of the new entries here in the NPSL. We'll be keeping an eye on a very, very competitive Lone Star Conference. Thanks for hanging out with the 2v1. We'll be keeping an eye on things and catch up with you down the road.
All right. Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
Appreciate your time.